Since the 23rd of May 1931, Scarborough's North Bay Railway has been bringing pleasure to local people, visitors to the town and railway enthusiasts of all ages. It cost just £5,000 to build and, together with the creation of other attractions in the North Bay, helped to put 100 unemployed Scarborough men in work. The seeds were sown back in the winter of 1928, when part of a new leisure park was developed at Hodgson's Slack on the Manor of Northstead. An open-air roller skating rink, together with 10 tennis courts and a cafe, all at a cost of £18,120, formed the first phase of an ambitious project to be known first as North Bay Leisure Gardens and later as Northstead Manor Gardens. In July 1930, Scarborough Council voted in favour of Borough Engineer Harry W. Smith's remaining plans for Hodgson's Slack, which included a boating and swimming lake, a water chute and a miniature railway. The Council sought Ministry of Health approval to borrow £19,125 for the planned developments, which was agreed mainly because the project would provide at least 6 months' work for 100 out-of-work local men. In January 1932, work began on the excavation of the lake and the construction of the North Bay Railway. A 7/8 of a mile track, 2 tunnels and stations at P-Zone, Beach and Scarborough Mills. A diesel locomotive costing £1,000 was ordered from Hudswell Clark & Co in Leeds. 1/3 the normal size and weighing in at 10 tonnes and 500 weight, the loco was modelled on LNER's Pacific locomotives and was credited with a top speed of 22 miles per hour. Soon to be christened Neptune, the engine that made the first North Bay trip in 1931 is still in service today and carries the distinction of being the oldest diesel hydraulic locomotive in the world. For £650, Hudswell Clark constructed 5 coach underframes that were fitted out with floors and toast rack seats by Slingsby and Armstrong of Scarborough at a further cost of £125 each. Each coach could carry 20 to 25 passengers. The North Bay Railway opened on Whit Saturday, 23rd of May 1931, but not without a degree of drama. Everything in Scarborough was ready to roll, but in Leeds the locomotive was still incomplete on its planned delivery date of 16th of May. The engine finally arrived in Scarborough on the day before the official opening. The opening ceremony began with the Mayor, Alderman John William Butler, buying the first ticket from one of P-Zone Station's automatic ticket machines, and then donning his corporation employee's peaked cap before sounding his whistle and climbing onto Neptune's footplate to drive 100 councillors and guests around the bay to christen the railway. The attraction proved an instant success, with over 400,000 passengers being carried in that first season alone, and it's never looked back, being as popular today as ever. The railway's first season success and the ever-growing queues of passengers soon indicated that Neptune was going to need some help, and it came in the form of a second Hudswell Clark locomotive. This time, named Triton and costing a more substantial £1,500, the new engine arrived in 1932 and immediately joined Neptune on the track. With only one short interruption, caused by the Second World War, Neptune and Triton drew their coaches packed with happy travellers along the picturesque route for the next 74 years. The 2 engines representing a welcome constant for local passengers and the many thousands of returning visitors for whom a ride around the North Bay was always a holiday must. The war did necessitate a pause in the railway's operating schedule, but other threats to the line have reared their heads over the years. The first took the form of a deputation from the Scarborough Interdenominational Union and the Scarborough Free Church Council, who voiced their concerns to Scarborough Council regarding the better observance of Sunday in respect of the miniature railway on the north side. The Scarborough Evening News carried a lively exchange of readers' views, but the council committees finally decided that the railway could continue with Sunday operations. A little over a year after it began operating, the railway and the town were rocked by tragedy when Triton and Neptune collided at a blind corner of the track with disastrous consequences. The 25-year-old driver, Herbert Carr, died and more than 40 people were injured. Reports in the following day's Scarborough Evening News reported that one of the engines was overturned and the driver was pinned underneath. It went on to say that the local hospital resembled a casualty clearing station during the war. These days, the railway has a foolproof system to prevent such a disaster ever happening again. Each driver has a key which unlocks certain parts of the track, and this key is only passed to the other driver as the two trains pass each other. If a driver doesn't have the right key for the section of track he is using, the emergency system is triggered and the train will be unable to proceed. The railway has to abide by strict guidelines set out by the Railways Safety Act and is visited each year by the Railway Inspectorate. In 1998, the railway again came under threat. This time, when planned further developments to the North Bay area suggested the possibility that the line could be closed for good. Speculation on the railway's future again prompted lively debate in the pages of the Scarborough Evening News, and the issue became a major talking point throughout the town. Support for the railway came from all quarters and from all age groups. 8-year-old Stephen Johnson was so incensed by the prospect of losing his favourite attraction that he not only wrote to the newspaper, but drummed up support from his friends and neighbours to plead the case in favour of Neptune and Co. Stephen not only saw his efforts rewarded back in 1998, but has recently achieved his dream by becoming the railway's first apprentice. He now drives the engines that he helped to save.
I'm Stephen, and I've been interested in this railway for about as long as I can remember. I was born into a family where my dad was a great railway enthusiast, and he brought me up coming down here every Sunday in the summer holidays when it was open. In 1998 I wrote a letter to the paper because the Scarborough Council was going to get rid of it, and I didn't want it to happen, and a lot of people I talked to didn't want it to happen, so I put my word in. I had my photograph taken on this engine, which happens to be my favourite, Neptune. And now I've finally accomplished my dream, and I'm now driving them.
In 2007, Scarborough Council leased the line to the North Bay Railway Company Limited, and on 30th of March the following year the company took over permanent operation. A period of improvement and growth was to follow, with the first major event being the arrival of 2 more locomotives to support the gallant Neptune and Triton. Poseidon and Robin Hood, both from the trusted yards of Hudswell Clark, made their way from their temporary home at Cleethorpes, having previously operated at the Great Woburn Railway. The North Bay Railway was now to become the home of the 4 oldest Hudswell Clark locomotives of the 20-21-inch gauge. Further improvements were soon to follow, with the construction of a new station building with a shop, ticket office and waiting room opening in May 2008. The additional attraction of a bistro, named the Glass House, was added alongside. Future plans include the extension of the locomotive housing shed, and there are now plans in place to build a new coach shed and even a museum dedicated to the railway's history.
Hello, I'm David Humphreys, the General Manager of the North Bay Railway. We took over the running of the railway from Scarborough Borough Council in December 2006 and have been running it under the name of the North Bay Railway Company. I've been interested in trains all my working life, and specifically miniature railways from a young age, and never thought that at the age of 50 that I would be actually running a railway at Scarborough. My first experience of this railway was when I was about 7-year-old, when I was stood against the fence just over here, waiting to get on the train. Then there used to be moving around about 300,000 to 400,000 people a year. We're moving about 160,000, 170,000 now, but we hope to increase that back to the 250,000 to 300,000 mark. We're basically custodians of the railway for a lease of time, and what we're aiming to do is actually improve it so that we can hand it on to the next generation in a better condition than perhaps what we received it. When we took over the railway, one of the plans that we had was to actually build a new station building and to provide somewhere for people to be able to eat in a street cafe scene. And I'm delighted that we've been able to open up the new station building and also the Glass House Bistro. Now this, as far as we know, is one of the few English restaurants that is in Scarborough. So during the day we can do anything from a breakfast through to a scone with a cup of coffee, beautiful teas, beautiful cakes, and then on the evening we've got a full cafe bistro setting where people can have handmade or homemade food to their choice, whatever they would like.